Hi, and welcome to another edition of Practical Reliability, brought to you by ReliabilityX. ReliabilityX, the DNA of success in operations and asset management. I'm George Williams.
And I'm Joe Anderson.
All right. Joe, I am super excited about today's conversation.
Me too. I mean, my favorite person.
As soon as this person starts talking, everyone is going to go, oh my God.
Yeah.
I can't believe who they have on.
I know.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Paul Crocker.
Paul Crocker, everybody.
Well, hello. You know what? We ought to do 3 of these in a row, kind of like to match the times I got brought up in the other podcast.
Paul, you are a legend, in the space of reliability with respect to just name drops. Like,
right.
You are the Kevin Bacon of reliability. So
right.
It is 6 degrees of Paul Crocker is
right.
going to be.
Well, he started during the days of Footloose, so it kind of worked out.
So it is awesome to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. And, I guess the first thing I want to really talk to you a little bit about is the SMRP chapter. So give us a little bit of background around the Kansas City SMRP chapter.
Well, I was thinking back. I think we got started around 2012 or 2013. One of the guys had reached out to me, and who's no longer involved in SMRP, and said, hey, we're looking to start a chapter. You want to join? And I'm like, yeah. So we met, and I think we started an informal chapter, and I think the first meeting was at my plant, and there might have been 20 or so people show up to that meeting. So it was a pretty good first time for an unofficial chapter.
That's awesome. And how did it progress from there?
I think we made a couple meetings. We did the first meeting we did a tour of my plant. The next meeting, I think we toured Westar's Jeffrey Energy Center, which was a pretty nice little tour. We toured another Westar power plant, I believe the one in Lawrence.
Okay.
And then the chapter kind of fell apart for 2 or 3 years. Nobody was active in it.
Okay. And then
Paul happened.
Yeah, I think a couple of us just started talking and decided we wanted to start up a chapter, but this time take it to, sort of an official status, which was there was a lot of work to do to get that set up, because we went the route of setting it up as a Kansas not-for-profit, and even went through the route of doing a federal not-for-profit, which we later found out we didn't have to do, but because SMRP has us under their umbrella as a federal not-for-profit.
Nice.
Okay.
That's awesome. Well, that's a lot of work for you to do. And so now, a couple years into this, how big of an organization are you?
I think we have 80 some contacts that are either regular sort of attenders to the chapter meetings, which I don't know, average around 25, 30 people.
right.
Other ones, they're just too busy traveling, so they don't show up to many of the meetings.
Nice.
And didn't you help as Wichita was getting started as well? Kind of help out,
I did a little bit.
LE, I believe the LE group.
Yeah.
And,
Yep. I talked to Preston Rubottom at LE a little bit about setting up their chapter.
Right.
And I think we've talked to them too about doing sort of a regional event between them, us, and the Iowa, Nebraska chapter.
Right. I know Paul Dufresne was heavily involved at the time.
Yeah.
In setting that up as well. And then when I was in Salina, we started getting involved in it as well. So it was pretty good turnout there with all the airline manufacturing and stuff that's there. But yeah, and I know you helped with that a little bit too.
Yep. Yeah,
Nice.
we kind of give each other some information. Though I think I think all the chapters a little bit struggle with the requirements you have to have when you've got a state not-for-profit, and getting the kind of the notes in or whatever the state wants to keep you in an active status. And if you miss the deadline, they drop you off the list. And then SMRP, if you're under their umbrella, that affects their 503c6 status.
Right. Oh, that's crazy.
Nice. So you also host a bunch of events, locally at your site, where you're bringing in folks to to do learning sessions, and I think you bring in other groups to take tours of your plant. You're very active on the social media side. I got to say, Paul, you're doing an awful lot to spread the message of how asset management can improve plant performance.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Yeah, we do have quite a few tours. It's usually school groups. Sometimes the engineering firms in town will bring in groups from other parts of the world that they want to see kind of the newer plant designs. We've had, I don't know, we probably have 20 sort of tour groups in the plant in a given year. Sometimes they repeat. The KU environmental science program has a full day-long class. They meet once a year, every year. I think it's in December, and all the people in that program come out and just do the class there at the plant, and then we give them a short tour at the end of it.
Nice. And you were recognized by IBM not too long ago too. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, I got one of the I think it was Cloud Champion for 2017. I think Pam Denny had nominated me for that.
Nice.
And the nomination process is, I think, a little bit lengthy for that sort of thing. But I thought it was really cool to have that nomination and get it.
Yeah. Speaking of nominations, I think I've nominated you for something too, and I think Joe's working on that.
Yep.
We'll probably put something in writing underneath the video to urge people to, I quite frankly, I think, and I'll just say it, I think you deserve the CMRP of the Year award, and I've nominated you for that, and I know you've been nominated actually by somebody else as well, and I encourage everybody that's watching this to do that, because you're driving things like nobody else is driving them at a position in your organization that you're at. And I just look up to you. I think you're doing phenomenal work, Paul.
Yeah, for sure.
I think I like spreading the message of whatever it is I'm doing, and I think if companies get the asset management journey right, then a lot of other things go right too, because it's good business. That's the way I look at asset management, is just a good, solid business practice. And if people see it and they see that, hey, this little maintenance supervisor is doing this work, why couldn't I do this in my industry, in my company? And I think anybody can do it.
That's right, Paul. That's right.
I try to lead by example. So
right.
It's not you, but it's you, brother.
Right. Exactly.
So you're also doing a lot of work in the space of giving a good understanding to your technicians around photography and maintenance, and you gave a presentation, I think it was in 2017 or 16? 16,
17, yeah.
Somewhere in that area. That kind of walked the technician through, it's great that you have a phone or if you have a camera and you're going to take some pictures, but here's how to understand how to make sure I can read what the hell's in your picture, right? If you're taking a picture of a nameplate, make sure the light's not shining right on it and I can't see any of the lettering. How do you put some contrast into the photo so I can see everything? And you're kind of, innovating that space. Walk us through that, and how was that received, not only at the presentation level, but in your plant?
I think it was received pretty good. One of the guys at the time, we were wanting to do a hanging unit heater survey at our plant that's been sort of mothballed, because it still had water running through some of the pipes and stuff, and we didn't want them to freeze. So I said, hey, Steve, go down there and get some pictures off the nameplate so I can find, fan motors and whatever we need for these. So he goes down there and takes his camera, takes pictures. He brings, he spent all day, been up and down ladders, gave me, 20 or 30 pictures, and I couldn't make out a letter on any of the pictures. I'm like, Steve, did
Good
you
effort.
Did you look at the screen when you did this? No, I just reached up there and snapped a picture. I was like, well, these are useless. So that's kind of why I developed it. I was like, I've got to do something to educate these guys. So when I tell them to take a picture for me, they at least bring me the information I'm looking for.
Yeah, well, necessity's the mother of invention, right? So, so you had to create a path to make it successful. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So after all that, and after you've done the presentation, have you done any additional work in that space?
I have not. I started a book. I think I've got maybe a half a chapter written on it, but it didn't really go any further. And I'd like to finish it. I think I had talked to you about adding some content to it, and Rob Bishop, and I think Joel Lovett, and I got a little bit of stuff from Rob, and I got a little bit of stuff from Joel, but I really haven't put it together in the book. I need to do that. It's one of the projects that's been hanging out there for quite a while. I just need to finish.
I think you do. I think it's actually a really good topic, because it's something that today, with everybody having a smartphone, is very relevant. Because even if it's taking slow motion video or taking photographs of what issues you're seeing, I think understanding how to make the video or photo so that it is legible is really important. Yeah, I agree. You should keep finishing that book.
Yeah.
All right.
So what else is going on in your life? What about that? So you just recently went to a show. Why don't you talk to us about where you were at and what you learned?
Yeah, I went to Denver for the AM Ecosystem conference. And I guess what I really liked about that conference, it was a very intimate setting. Not a huge.
You mean like candles, lounge?
Not that kind of intimate.
Oh, okay.
So there was a lot of presentations followed by sort of roundtable discussion after the presentations, and I'd say from my point of view, or at least the little ones I went to, they were mostly utilities, other water or wastewater utilities or power utilities. One of the presentations I remember the most was from our Omaha Public Power. The CFO was there talking about how they're starting on an ISO 55000 certification journey, and he was talking about how he could justify it, and he was talking about some flooding they had along the Platte River that destroyed some infrastructure sort of downstream. And he was showing these pictures, and I was like, hey, I've seen that, because I was just in Nebraska a couple weeks ago looking at some work for Black & Veatch. They had designed a collector well, I think one of their first ones for Lincoln Water, and we were out looking at it. It had a lot of damage around it due to the flooding in that river. It was actually sit on an island kind of in the middle of this river channel that had been dry for a long time, and when the heavy floods came through, it washed a lot of the sand away from that building and kind of washed the electric transformer that supplied it power down the river with it. And we both had pictures of the same collector well on our phone, so it started up a good conversation. And I asked him, I said, hey, would you be willing to come in and talk about asset management to my CFO? I said, if it's good enough for you and you can talk about it in a money aspect, I think that's a great thing, and I think our utilities look at each other to see what they're doing anyway. So why not spread this asset management message, or help me get it started at my utility? And he said he'd do that. So
that's awesome. That's really good.
Yeah,
and that's what separates Paul from everybody else. That is what separates
Paul.
You from 75% of the people that are trying to do these initiatives. Is that you go out and try to make connections and figure out. So you've pitched something and it didn't really go anywhere. That didn't stop you. You're then going, well, how can I get somebody else to go in and convince them or help my argument, or what can I learn from other people? And nothing justifies reliability more than an oh crap.
Yeah. Well, that, and he's not afraid to ask for help.
Right.
I think one of the things in any company today is the pride issue. And people want to do it on their own because of a fear of being exposed for lack of knowledge, or they're scared to show that they're incompetent, or whatever that fear is. When the successful people know that they need help and they ask for help, and they'll bring in any resources necessary to help them get to where they need.
And nobody asks for help more than Paul.
Right.
And my phone blows up on a regular basis. No, but it's all good, right?
But that's key to your success.
Yeah.
Is your ability to take that coaching and translate it into something.
And you know how far down on his list I probably am. So
I know.
He's pinging a lot of other people a whole lot more than me.
Right.
Well, I don't know. I guess my the way my brain works, I see about 20 possibilities to do anything, and I'll try some, and those don't work. And I was like, okay, well, how do I get past this obstacle? I see 10 different ways to do it. Will this way work? And as if I can't seem to make it work, then I'll reach out and ask, hey, what's wrong with my approach here? Am I thinking too hard about it? Am I standing too close to the trees, or I need to stand back and see the forest a little bit? So
nice.
My perspective and my thoughts are kind of all over the place sometimes, but it does help me find some creative ways to get things done.
Right. And you're doing an awful lot of things that, you from a predictive standpoint, you guys are taking vibrations, you're doing ultrasound, and you're managing your lubrication practices through ultrasound, I believe. And then recently I saw a video not too long ago of you with Penrose with motion amplification. So walk me through your experience with that.
Yeah, that was amazing. I had needed to get some training accomplished with my electricians, and I kind of knew what the budget was, and Howard fit in with that. And when I was just talking to him, I said, "Hey, you don't happen to have any motion amplification stuff, do you?" And he says, "Well, as a matter of fact, I do." And I said, "Well, you wouldn't mind like playing with it while you're here, would you?" And he says, "No." So we set it up and shot some video of some pumps and motors that we have. To compare one pump and motor in one setting to its identical twin at one of our collector wells. And we got some good information about that. But I think one of the coolest things was I said, "Hey, Howard, we've got this big 4180 volt isolation transformer. And where we started up, it hums really loud. Have you ever used that on a transformer before?" He goes, "No, that'd be really cool." So we set it up and filmed it, and it's I don't know. I think
it's on YouTube. It's on YouTube. So yeah. if what do they have to type in for it to come up?
I think you look up motor dock and BPU. I think we'll bring it up.
It's a really, really good video.
Awesome.
And you know Paul, so he goes to the extreme. So he has them do a test where they stand still, and the video is well put together. It's not just and the transformer is just amazing. It is amazing to see how much this transformer is moving. It's a really good piece. So you talk to us a little bit about we've known each other for quite a while, and I don't think it's a secret that you're kind of an introverted guy, and you're working on your presentation skills, and we have a lot of conversations around that. When you did the photography for maintenance presentation, you had all your notes, you were kind of reading from them, and that's all great because you were prepared. But then you and I and Joe and lots of other folks that talked to you were kind of helping you with what it looks like to present differently in front of an audience. And you've been doing a lot of active work around that. How have you felt about that transition, and what does it do for your confidence level to keep presenting?
It helps a lot. I am an introvert by nature, and I don't know. I would have said even back as far as 2012, it would have been really hard to get me up in front of a group of people and talk about anything. And so I got to have, to me, one of the keys is to have a lot of passion and desire about the topic that I'm talking about, for one. That helps a lot. That helps a lot at work because I love water. And so I don't have any problem standing up and talking at work without any presentation about water at all. I do that quite a bit at tours. But when you get to a conference setting and it's people that know asset management, know maintenance, and know reliability, I'm a little bit challenged there. The room's a little bit larger. The stage is sometimes a little bit different. And when I'm practicing it, reading it, and preparing it at home, I'm sitting at a desktop machine, not looking at the crowd. And I'm trying to use the pictures and images to help me think when I'm talking. And sometimes I pull it off, and sometimes I don't.
I think you pull it off great.
Yeah, you pull it off all the time.
Yeah.
I know it's a relief, though. One, to do it without the notes, and two, to finally be done with it. Right?
I agree.
That's kind of how it is, right? But I think another... Go ahead, Paul.
I like it. I mean, the one thing I really like about it is if I do one and I know I nailed it, I know I nailed it at the time I'm delivering it.
Right.
And if I don't, I've got questions. It's like, I don't think I did that as well as I had it in my mind to deliver it.
Right.
And I think you sat through one of those presentations at IMC where I was like, there was a technical difficulty with the computer. It dropped its network, so it couldn't play the video I had in it that I thought was integral to the whole presentation. and I didn't get an opportunity to get in that room before everybody else was in it to check the equipment. So I was frustrated already when I started, and then I had to roll with it, but it kind of threw me off for the whole presentation.
Yeah, and it kind of translates into your delivery. And you're right. I think when you present and you're reading the room, you get a sense from the body language whether or not it's being received well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah. My wife watches American Idol, and so I've been sitting watching that.
So you sing for her, and she judges you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think America's Got Talent might be better than doing American.
Let me
Idol
hear
for
it,
you.
Paul. Let's go ahead. This is your audition. Let's hear it.
Everybody text for Paul.
Yeah. Paul's number is
pound 2654. Let's vote for him.
So I guess where I was going with that is every once in a while they'll show the guys that are doing the judging. And I forget the country singer, the guy that's on it. He's Luke Bryan. He's always got
Luke
this
Bryan.
bizarre looking face when the camera pans around on him. And it's the same face sometimes I see when I'm looking out in the audience. And when I see that face, it's like, I must be saying something really ignorant. That face is like, they don't even know what I'm talking about. Sometimes the looks people have on their face can really put you off.
I'm sorry, Paul, that I had that look on my face.
I don't know, but I don't even know who that is, but I'm gonna look him up and get that face. I'm gonna put it on. I'm gonna print it and put it on a sign, and we'll put a mask
we
on.
have a couple.
Next time you present,
time.
Paul, everyone in the audience is gonna have a Luke Bryan face,
That's it, man.
and you're just gonna lose it.
Hey,
So you're gonna be at the TRC, right?
Yep, I'm going to be at TRC.
Are you presenting it all?
Yeah, I'm giving the same presentation I think I gave at IMC, but with some modifications to
With
it.
some pizzazz.
So hopefully it'll be a lot better, and I'm going to do it without any notes this time, so hopefully it comes off a lot better, so.
Nice.
I have to get. I'm not gonna be at TRC. I wish I was, but I'll have to print out a bunch of Luke Bryan faces.
Yeah, definitely.
Send it to
great.
TRC.
I'm gonna make it a GIF.
I'll contact Reliability Web and see if I can get them to print a whole bunch of Luke Bryan
That's
faces.
for sure. If he holds a single note in his hand, Luke Bryan face. Right away. That's it. So how do you feel when you have people that you consider some of your mentors or people that you looked up to that are sitting in there when you're speaking?
I like it. I think it gives me some validation in the stuff that I'm doing, that people are interested enough to come in and sit in it in the first place, because there's always interesting presentations going on. And if I've got a room full of people like the one at IMC, I don't know, there was 100-some people in that room, easy.
Right.
I was like, wow, this is an interesting topic, and that's good. I mean, that's really good.
Mine was, I always have a fear of people that I've respected that come in and sit in the room. I have this fear of saying something that isn't right.
Or them saying something that's not right.
Yeah. I'm just saying
because that's never happened.
Yeah, I know. Well, I don't respect them. That's a little different. So, but it's especially when I first started speaking at conferences, because I was intimidated. Do I really know what I'm talking about? And, had all these questions. Those were the fears that drove me.
It's a lot like...
I've got those same exact fears.
I know, but the problem is this. You're coming in there and you're going, man, the lion's chasing the herd. I hope they don't catch me. I need to be the fastest gazelle.
Yeah.
But you don't need to be the fastest gazelle. You need to be faster than the slowest gazelle. And in the room is a bunch of gazelles.
Well, I understand, and you realize that real quick. But my thing is the Jack Nicklaus's and the Ramesh Gulati's, those people that sit in there, and you're thinking, man, this is one of the founding fathers, if you will, of maintenance, reliability, asset management.
But the funny thing is when you present, and those folks are in the room, and obviously they're all friends of ours now, but early in our careers they weren't, right?
Right.
You don't know them, and you read their books, and you're sweating, and
Right.
they're in awe, and they're all great people.
Right.
And they all come up to you and they talk to you and they wish you well and they give you advice. And the one thing about this community of asset management and reliability professionals is that it really is a community. I don't think I've ever come across, I don't think I've come across many folks that were closed-minded in terms of their willingness to share, their willingness to have opposing opinions, but then learn from each other. It really is just an amazing industry to work in. I couldn't be happier with what I do for a living.
Right, me too.
No, I totally agree. And
yeah, we don't care. Hang on. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding, Paul. Go ahead.
Who we interviewed?
That was about me, Paul. No, I'm just kidding.
Let's interview George, Paul.
So we were sitting on that, we were sitting on the couch at the end of IMC.
Why were you doing
last
that?
year, and talking about stuff. It was me, George.
Does your boss
Terry.
know you were just sitting on a couch and not attending something?
Huh? Well, we were there.
Oh, it was after. It was after hours.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
all right,
we got
all
it.
right.
We got it now.
We
Thought we caught you slouching. All right.
So I don't know. You told me not to use the notes, so I sat him down and I just talked, and it felt pretty good at the end of that when Jack Nicholas. We were out kind of on the patio, and Jack Nicholas would walk out and shook my hand and said it was great. Little talk. And I was like, that was something that felt good. So.
Right. Well, it
Yeah.
gives you validation.
And you know what? People recognize that because people were at the presentations where you were reading, and those same folks go to other presentations. They see your progression, and they're, like I said, this is just a wide open community of really great people. And so they come up to you and they say, I noticed you're making an improvement. You did a great job. You know what I mean? There's so much support in this industry because, quite frankly, we're all pushing the boulder uphill.
Right.
And it's not the easiest industry to make progress in. Convincing a company to invest in something they don't get to hold in their hand, and they have difficulty articulating that to what it means on the business side, and we have a difficult time in our industry articulating it, makes it really tough. And so most of us push a boulder uphill. And so the industry is just a bunch of folks that are all going for the same goal, that are all struggling at it. And so they're willing to share, they're willing to grow, they're willing to admit when they're not sure of something and seek help. And I just think, you are the epitome of that, Paul. And it's really, you're just like, I don't know, you're the guy that I look up to in terms of effort, in terms of willingness to learn, in terms of driving results. I mean, really, just across the board, you're the guy that for me motivates me. Even and I certainly not trying to pat myself or anything, but regardless of what success I've had, you're the guy that I look up to and go, shit, I'm not doing enough.
Yeah. I mean, you even make reading notes look good, so I've had to start practicing that. I mean, it's like, man,
you're lucky your camera wasn't on it. We were gonna make you hold up your notes because I knew you had notes.
Yeah, for sure.
I've got the email printed out.
Yeah, I know.
He said Paul sends us an email. He sends us an email with his life history.
Yeah.
We're like, Paul, pick a couple of topics we can talk about it. He literally sends us his entire life history.
We could talk about this
in an email.
67 years worth of
I
work
text him
here.
back. I'm like, Paul, the show's only like 20 minutes long.
Oh, man, for sure.
I think I like to come a little over prepared.
And,
we know
and
that.
that's you, and that's what we love, man. That is just what we love.
For sure.
All right, so listen, Paul, we really appreciate you coming on to the show, and we thank you for your time. And whatever time you want to come back on, you just let us know. You're just our favorite, so we'll be more than happy to have you back on.
For sure, man.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you.